Adele, whose picture do we have up there? Let's see. Okay, here they come. Adele, you want to check your mic? Can you hear me? Welcome, everybody. We're going to get started here in just a few minutes. We got a lot of people on today's webinar. Kind of wild. Let's see. We have, here comes Adele. Hey, Adele, how's it going?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you doing?
It's so random. It's like something's going on with my Zoom. Everybody who comes in, it says Adele is joining, and then their actual name pops up. So I thought you were Foster.
Recording in progress.
Gotcha.
All right. Let's see. Deidre, we're going to put you on mute just for a second here because we've got some feedback coming in. We have a ton of people who registered. I went ahead and opened up the meeting room early so that we could get in here and get organized. And I could tell some of you early birds kind of what we're going to be covering today. By the way, I don't know if you know who I am. My name is Bradley Pounds. I'm Chris Waters' business partner, co-authored the book with him, sort of the Mr. Spock to his Captain Kirk, if you will. Chris will be joining us here in just a moment. There he is right there.
Hey, Brad.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good. We're getting the band back together. I was just about to tell everybody, it's been a year. It's literally been a year since we did one of these like informational webinars, kind of sharing what's up. And boy, do we have a story to tell. A lot has happened in a year. It's been all good stuff. I don't know if we're going to be able to pack it all in.
Hi, Adele. I see Adele.
Hey, how are you? It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. I see some familiar faces on here.
Do you mind putting the lights up?
You know, we have a kind of a theme today, and my theme is bold predictions. So I'm going to be challenging everyone. We're going to do questions a little bit later in the webinar. Everybody, I'll just ask you guys to go on mute as you come in, just so we don't get feedback. We will be inviting you to come off of mute and ask questions a little bit later. But my theme is bold predictions. So I'm going to invite everybody to go into the chat box and make a bold prediction. What do you think is going to happen in quarter 3, quarter 4? I won't hold you to it, but you can't go small. We'll have time for questions a little bit later. Don't worry about that. We're going to invite you guys to post up some questions so that we can slam through some Q&A at the very end of the webinar. I'm sure we'll have some time left over to do that.
Brad, when you say bold predictions, are you talking about home prices, interest rates?
I don't even, so here's the thing.
What are going to be the
Really
major
interested.
headlines?
What are the headlines in the market? Who I really am interested. I know you're going to touch on this, Chris, around some predictions around competition, right?
Yeah.
You know, we've got some folks who are kind of who have been scooping up market share over the last few years who are frankly running out of cash, and it's to be determined about whether they're going to sort of pull it out or not. So I'm really interested to hear what the group thinks, since we have a lot of super smart folks on. Go into the chat feature for me and then put in your bold predictions. Hi, Aisha. There's Leah. There's all of our friends. There's Doug and Waco. We're getting the band back together. Leah, are you in bed? Leah is in Guam, by the way. And I got to meet Leah and her husband, Alex, her fantastic husband, Alex, last week when they were here briefly. So we it's kind of one of those weird things where you like know somebody for 3 or 4 years and coach them and have to stick your hand out and say, nice to meet you. But she came all the way. How far is it? Like 10,000 miles, 12,000? It's very impressive. They were able to come over here and hang out with us while they were here for some other matters. Welcome, James. We got John coming in. Nick's here. Fantastic. We got the whole Seeger family. That's great. Chris. Bold predictions. I know you have a list. Before we get to Chris's, I would like to hear from a couple of you guys. I'm going to pick on you. Suze, give me a bold prediction for quarter 3, quarter 4. Blow my mind here right now.
that Aisha in Houston's going to be super famous. Did you see that article that just came out about her and her husband?
No,
Oh my
what?
goodness. That's my prediction.
You'll have to send it to me. That's my job, is to make her famous.
Thank you. And please.
We have a secret project that we're working on.
No, in true form, I think my prediction is the fact that with the market, the way it's going, the agents that are taking ownership of their own success are going to be successful. And the agents that have been riding the fence or hiding behind mom and dad or not taking action will be seeing their way out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A culling, if you will. Miriam, is that Miriam in New Jersey, Miriam? Hi, how are you? We all know each other.
I am doing well, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. Candy's here from North Atlanta Metro. Candy, I'm going to put you on the spot. We're going bold predictions today. Give me a bold prediction for the third or fourth quarter. I won't hold you to it, but what's something big that you see going down later this year in the market?
I think it's going to be busy. We're staying steady here. We have still an inventory shortage, though.
Is that at certain price points, or is it kind of all across the board?
It's all across the board.
Let's, Chris and I have been gone for a year. We haven't been gone. It's just that we have been head down working on a lot of stuff. Chris will tell you about it in a second. Some of it we can talk about. Some of it we probably shouldn't, just because it's like in development, some really big stuff. But the hiatus that we took from the book audience and holding our webinars and whatnot, we really used it to go test a lot of stuff in our corporate markets and some new franchise markets. And we've got some results to share with you guys, some things that have we've kind of hacked finally, things that we've been working on for a long time, problems that have been giving us grief that we thought were almost unsolvable, and we've been able to solve a couple of them that we're going to share with you. Let's see.
Hey, if anybody has their Zoom name as Adele,
Yeah, where is that?
you may want to go and fix it. I don't know why it's doing that.
I don't know. Adele,
Yeah,
you're
I thought I was
famous.
getting multiplied.
You're Zoom famous. Okay, you want to give it just another minute? I mean, we got a lot of registrants, and they're filtering in right now. I can see them coming in.
Well, you want me to? I'm going to screen share from my computer.
Let me make sure you have screen share. Just 1 second.
Yeah.
You should be able. Actually, I'm not going to do that. Hold on. Let me make you the co-host, because otherwise it's not going to work very well. Make co-host. All right, you have the power, sir.
All right, well, let's kick things off. First off, super excited to see a lot of familiar faces on here. As Brad said, it's been over a year since we've done any kind of like training and some, just anything related to helping teams like kind of outside our ecosystem of like corporate offices or franchisees. So super excited to connect with everybody today. As you guys have been reading in the emails that Brad sent out, we want to share some things that we think are going to be a big surprise to a lot of people in the industry this year. And then, of course, you guys are probably wondering what all we've been doing the past year. I think most people on here know that, like, coaching and all that kind of stuff is really not like our business. We're in the business of like working on a corporate office, looking for franchise partners. And then we do like coaching. It's just, it's very intermittently, and it's just, we just want to help people. So Brad and I do this from a very altruistic perspective of just wanting to give back and share with people the results we've been getting, and tell you what not to do, and tell you what what's worked and what hasn't. So I'm gonna go and let's see. Can you guys see my screen? Okay. Is it showing, Brad?
I don't see your screen
No,
yet.
it's not showing.
Okay. Cool. All right. So here we go. Share. All right. How about now?
It's pulling up now. Now hit the slideshow thing up top. Yeah.
Yep. Cool.
Yay.
Oh, that picture.
Oh, I know. God, that was a couple of years ago, right?
It's a couple of pounds ago.
So hey, we're really excited to bring somebody on today on this Zoom session. When Brad and I started working on expansion back in 2014, which is crazy to think that's literally like, God, 9 years ago, when we opened up our first expansion team outside of Austin. And really the only way we were able to pull that off was because we had a real badass in Austin. And so I'm going to tell you guys a little bit more about our third musketeer, Susana Medrano, in a little bit. But I'm super excited to have her on the Zoom today. And she's been just a pillar to helping us grow our core business in Austin and our corporate teams outside of Austin. And over the past, almost 2 years now, she's been helping our franchise partners that are, they were solo agents when they came in. Some of them had little teams. They were selling like 25 to 50 homes. And Susana's been helping coach and train them. And several of them now are selling, hundreds and hundreds of homes every single year. So anyway, super excited to have you on here today, Suze. I'm going to pull you on in a minute and get you to introduce yourself and say a little something. But let's dive right in. So as I've mentioned, the things Brad and I have been working on the past year, and why you guys really haven't heard a lot about it, what we've been doing is because we've been focused on helping our franchise partners. So we launched 18 markets across the US. And these are solo agents, and these were small teams. And so we've been able to successfully help over a dozen people in a dozen different markets across US and Canada go from selling 25, 50. I think one of them's at like, originally when we met them was at like 75 homes, and now everybody's pacing to do 300, 400 plus transactions. And everybody was able to do this in less than 3 years. And so we've been really pouring a lot of energy, time, and money into helping them. The other big thing for us, for those of you that are familiar with the state of Texas, our HQ office is in Austin. And so we opened up in another corporate office in San Antonio. And that team is literally just exploding, far exceeding our expectations. And then exactly a year ago, 14 months ago, we opened up a team in Dallas, Fort Worth. And same deal, that team is blowing and going. I think we're booking somewhere between 40 and 60 listing appointments per month for our listing agents up there, and bringing in hundreds and hundreds of buyer leads. So anyways, that's where a lot of our time's gone. Some other things that we've had to deal with, as many of you know, is the market's changed a lot. There's these iBuyers out there. You've heard of Opendoor, OfferPad, and they're spending insane amounts of money on advertising, and they're driving up the cost per lead really, really high. And these venture capital backed companies, they don't have to worry about making a profit, but it's really challenging when you're trying to run a business to make a profit and you're competing with people spending a ridiculous amount of money to acquire leads. And so a couple different things we did was reconfigure our listing presentation to add significantly more value to the homeowner when they're going to go, put their home on the market. So I won't really get into the details of that, but some of the things that tie into that, the listing presentation, is we created this liquidity solution. So basically, to give you guys a little insight into what I mean by that, is we went out and got a really large warehouse line of credit, and got access to $40 million. And we have this program we created called Get Paid Twice. And so there's a lot of sellers out there that they don't want to put their house on the market. They love the idea of the iBuyer, but they don't want to sell their home at a discount. And so the way the Get Paid Twice program works is we'll give the seller up to 85% of the equity in their house before they even list the home. And then we close on the property, take the deed, take possession of the house. We give the seller up to 14 days to stay in the home. And then after they move out, we list it, and then we sell the property, and the remaining 15% delta gets paid to the seller when we resell the property. And so that 85% of the equity we give them up front, it creates the liquidity they need to be able to, for example, pay off their mortgage, maybe make repairs to try to sell the house for more money. Maybe they're like in a distressed sale situation and they need, just need money fast.
Recording in progress.
Whoop, I see somebody, hear somebody. Maybe it's like a divorce situation. You got two people that want to go their separate ways, but all their money's tied up in their house. And so they need that quick cash to be able to get out. So that Get Paid Twice program, something we launched. We actually did our first test of this last year, and it was amazing. And so this is something really picking up for us, and it's a huge value prop. It's something that we can do to compete against the iBuyers. So if you think about like iBuyers, right? iBuyers are all about convenience, and realtors and brokerages, we're all about maximum value. Like, let's go get the most amount of money for your home. And so something cool about this Get Paid Twice program is we're not buying the house at a discount. We're selling it for the full market value. And you guys might be wondering, like, what's the cost? Because obviously if you use a warehouse line of credit, there's there's fees associated with that. And so this program we have on the listing side, we charge 3%. So that's the program fee to essentially give somebody that quick liquidity to, be able to pay off their mortgage, make repairs, go and buy their next house, etc. The second part of the liquidity solution is our guaranteed sale program. So some of you guys might have heard of this. There's a lot of realtors across the US that advertise this. They guarantee to sell their house or they'll buy it. And so we have something very similar where we'll set a floor price of what we will buy the house for. And so this liquidity solution also covers that. And then something else really fascinating happening in the market right now, which I hope every single person on this call is pivoting and taking advantage of this, is there's a lot more distressed sellers popping up. I'm sure you guys have heard in the news, everybody, there's lots of job loss, like there's lots of crazy things, going on in the market, right? And so in 2020 and 2021, like, man, everybody's house sold, right? For like multiple offers, way over asking. If you were in a distressed situation, like you just put the thing on the market and you're good to go. And now it's just, it's not as, obviously it's not as easy as it was in 2020 and 2021. The other big thing we've been working on over the past year is figuring out bottom of funnel buyer lead generation. So let me see a show of hands, and maybe you guys chime in on the chat box. How many people on here use a CRM company like Boomtown or Follow Up Boss or Sierra, Ylopo, one of these CRMs? How many of you guys use these platforms and pay them to generate leads for you? Chime in on the chat box. I can only see a couple of you guys. How many people are leveraging their CRM? Chime in on the chat box and just say, write in what CRM you're using. I'm just curious. I'm going to look at the chat box here. Yeah, so we got Chime, Sierra, Market Leader. Yeah, there's tons of them, right? So the thing that we learned is like a lot of these CRM vendors, like, and I'm not just calling out one, it's like all of them, all these CRM vendors, their perspective is that they think realtors judge their results by how cheap the vendor can get leads. Does anybody else do the same thing? Do you guys judge these companies based off how cheap they can get you leads? Chime in on the chat box. How many people judge these companies by their cost per lead? This is not Adele. Well, we have, then what that tells me is we got a lot of smart people on here. So here's the thing, like, what's interesting is there are lead sources where the conversion rate's really high. Like, you get 100 of these leads and a high percentage of them will convert. But there's also, and they're cheap. They're like super cheap. So there's definitely some of those. But when it comes to digital marketing, 80% of the potential keyword strings that they will put into your Google PPC campaign builder, 80% of those are going to be leads that take 6, 12, 18, 24 months to close. Show of hands, how many people know what I'm talking about? And then chime in on the chat box, right? You guys know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So as all of us have been trained over the past like 10 plus years, you got to work leads for like 12 to 18 months to, see the real conversion rate. And so let's see, Billy just said, yeah, I can confirm. I just closed one of those finally. So one of the things we discovered is there's a very specific group of keyword strings that are buyers that are likely to purchase in the next 30, 60, and 90 days. And so we've literally stripped away all of the PPC advertising so we were using Boomtown for like 10 plus years. And we stripped away all the PPC advertising they were using, and we only targeted this very specific group of keyword strings. And the leads are like people that are out driving around. They're people that are looking right now. They're getting pre-approved for a mortgage right now. Like they're not going on the website or going on Google and typing in like, for example, Indianapolis homes for sale, right? So if a buyer types in something like Indianapolis homes for sale or homes for sale in Florida or homes for sale in New Mexico, like that's a buyer really early in their search. I mean, they're like 6 months, 12 months, 18 months out. And so again, there's this very specific set of keywords you can use that generate bottom of funnel leads. So that's been another huge breakthrough for us. If you guys start recruiting agents and start trying to build a team, your goal needs to be how fast can I help an agent get a deal under contract? Because if they don't start making money, they're not going to stay on your team. They're going to lose all their motivation. All right, so let's dig into the predictions. So now I think most of you guys are well aware of this. We get trained this as real estate agents. Real estate's very local. Some markets across the US have been hit really hard. So for example, Austin, Texas, Phoenix, there's some markets in California where transaction volume literally went down 50%. Transaction volume went down 50%. And I know that personally in Austin because that's where our home base is. Now, prices didn't fall 50%. It's just the number of transactions happening fell 50%. And so one of the craziest things I think we're going to see on the headlines when we read the news come this summer is all the news headlines are going to be talking about, the real estate market and how much it's come down. And the reason that is because they're going to start reporting on year-over-year numbers. So for a lot of you guys, like if you remember back in June, July, August, September, October of last year, when they reported year-over-year numbers, it still showed some price appreciation. But this coming summer, the headlines are going to tell a totally different story. The year-over-year numbers in most markets are going to be down. In some markets, it'll be down single digits, and in some markets, it'll be down double digits. But here's the craziest thing is the news, when they start reporting this, they're actually way behind the 8 ball because what's happened in the market, it already happened. Like it happened between June of last summer up until January and February. Like it already happened. The decline already happened. And so I think for most of us in real estate, like we're kind of at the light at the end of the tunnel. And so I don't think it's like prices are going to go crazy, back up and we're going to start seeing, 20% appreciation and like 100 offers. We're not going to see that again, but the market's going to start getting better and better from here moving forward. And maybe chime in on the chat box. How many people over the past like 30, 60, 90 days have felt the market kind of like de-thaw? And maybe you're even seeing multiple offer situations again. Somebody in Boston says it's still red hot here. Florida, it's hot everywhere. Yeah, so I know there's some of you guys that are in markets that didn't get impacted at all, and then there's others that got hit really hard. But I'm trying to speak to things more on a macro level. So Let's move on to interest rates. So my big prediction on interest rates is, I think you guys heard last week, the Federal Reserve announced a 25 basis points increase in interest rates. That's probably, if I had to guess, if I had a crystal ball, I would say that's the last rate hike we're going to see. And if you guys have been reading the reports, the thing the Fed has been saying is like they're trying to actually create job loss. Like they need the economy to slow down. They need people to lose their jobs, which sounds crazy, but they need to get the economy to slow down. And so how many people know what happens when people start losing jobs? They need to sell houses. They gotta sell a house. They can't keep paying that mortgage. So I think for us in real estate on the agent and brokerage side, the pain is behind us. I'm not saying it's not going to be, it's still going to be hard. Like, you know, we're still dealing with like really high interest rates. The interest rates are 250% higher than they were a year ago. I'm not saying it's easy, but we're at the end of the tunnel. The light's there, and like now we're going to start kind of going back up on the incline. iBuyers. How many people have been following the iBuyers? Opendoor, OfferPad, Redfin now. Show of hands, chime in on the chat box. How many people have been following these companies? So my biggest prediction with the iBuyers, if you guys are competing with iBuyers, is you should probably be prepared to compete with Opendoor for many years to come. And my bold prediction is Opendoor is going to become more like a brokerage than it is an iBuyer. And there are a few other iBuyers out there, which you guys know of, that have already folded. So Zillow shut down, Redfin now shut down. And my next prediction is that OfferPad goes bust. All right, let's talk about power buyers for a minute. Does anybody know what these are? Chime in on the chat box if you know what a power buyer is. Did anybody have a power buyer in their market? So crazy. I can't, like, people's names aren't right on the screen. So an example of a power buyer is, no, it's not an institutional investor. A power buyer, there's a couple companies out there that are considered power buyers. If you guys, y'all can go on Inman. Do we have anybody that subscribes to Inman News? It's probably my favorite news publication for the real estate industry is Inman News. Swine Pool, that's another one of my favorites. Another great publication for the real estate industry. So some examples of power buyers would be like Orchard. Is anybody competing with Orchard in their market? I think Orchard is in 7 cities across the US. And is there anybody on here that has heard of Homeward? Anybody on here heard of Homeward? So during the the craziness of the market during COVID, these power buyers were literally giving buyers cash to make offers on properties. And then they charged a program fee for the buyer to get access to that cash so they can make a cash offer, not have any contingencies, and win out in the multiple offer situation. I see a few people know what Homeward is. So there's several others. So there's another one called Ribbon. There's one called Knock. Has anybody heard of Knock? Anybody heard of Knock? Yeah. So quite a few power buyers out there. And so one of my big predictions to power buyers is this is actually going to become something that that sticks around a long time. Like these entities that are providing liquidity for consumers and are partnering up with real estate agents to help the seller, make that transition to the new house or selling their house easier or buying something else. That's going to be here to stay. Now, there's a few power buyers, I think, that don't have very disciplined models as it relates to, like, for example, there were power buyers that were making these cash offers on homes that would never appraise. And then that house had to go get a mortgage with the consumer, right? And then that can create some problems. So, some of the power buyers that are very disciplined and aren't doing some like crazy off the wall stuff when the market heats up, I think they're going to be around for a long time. On the brokerage side, I'm sure you guys are hearing all the, news about Compass, EXP, KW. They seem to be, just, dominating the news lately that, all this, going on between KW and EXP. For anybody that doesn't know, Brad or I, we're not associated with any of these companies, and we don't speak ill will of any of them. But it does seem like Keller Williams is shifting to be more focused on helping people build their own independent business. And so a lot of their training, coaching, the tech, like a lot of that stuff. And then if you guys have even seen their slogan changed in the past year. I think it says where entrepreneurs thrive. And so I think KW is really trying to, position themselves to be this ecosystem where, entrepreneurs can come in, and the main focus of the company is helping each other grow a business. Now, I'm not saying EXP doesn't do that either, but I think the main focus of EXP is recruiting and the downline revenue scheme. And then obviously I know they have a lot of training and a lot of stuff they do for free, but it's, I don't know if you guys, again, I'm not here waving any one company's flag. I'm not here doing that. But Keller Williams brings in the most amount of money of any training company in any industry on the entire planet. So have you guys heard of MAPS coaching? Anybody heard of MAPS coaching through KW? So I read a report that MAPS coaching brings in over $100 million annually, over $100 million, which makes them the #1 coaching company on planet Earth. There's literally not another coaching company that brings in that much money. So anyways, I think they're really, trying to double down on that. And EXP is growing like crazy. Downline revenue scheme is, working really good for them. I think they one-upped KW on the downline revenue scheme. And Compass, which maybe some of you guys have heard about, I don't think they're going anywhere. Like, they've got a lot of money behind them. And, they're kind of like the new age Sotheby's. And so I think Compass is going to continue to grow, even though they've racked up a lot of debt and they're struggling. And, they had a lot of people join that company at these really favorable splits. And now these agents are losing those splits because now the company has to make money and it's publicly traded. So I think it's still going to be, it's going to be tough for them in the years to come. But I think they're the modern day Sotheby's. I don't know about you guys, but I don't hear about Sotheby's as much as I used to. Whereas, Compass is really blowing and going. Anybody chime in on the chat box? Anybody agree or disagree what I'm saying? Who thinks anybody's like, man, Chris, you are way off? Chime in on the chat box. I want to hear what you guys think. All right, so I want to dive into my 5 big tips for people that are agents out there and are trying to grow their business, and you want to take advantage of what's going on in the market. How many people have heard that the greatest increase in market shares happen in a declining market? I know I'm not the only one that have seen these quotes and have read this in books everywhere, that people see the greatest growth during a declining market, not in an appreciating market. Yeah, I see everybody chiming in. So here's my advice. If you guys are a solo agent, or maybe you have a small team, my 5 tips are really going to be around making sure you get really focused on the skills required to be successful. So I don't know for those of you that weren't on the call at the very beginning, but Susanna Medrano, our 3rd musketeer, she said at the very beginning, and I don't even think she was aware of what she was saying and how it lined up with what I was going to say. Suze, can you hear me? So
I can always hear you, even in my sleep.
Oh no. So one of the things Susanna said is, like, the people that are going to see that huge increase in market share are going to be the ones that focus on their skills and get really laser focused. That was Susanna's bold prediction at the very beginning when we were asking everybody to, like, go around and share what their big bold predictions was. And so Sudanos was like, the people that are going to succeed are the ones that work on developing their skills. So the things I'm going to share with you guys in the next couple slides, these are very skills-based things. And as Brad and I were working with our franchise partners, we had a lot of ahas, right? Because like Brad and I were working with people like they were selling 25 to 35 homes a year. And, we thought, we would just tell them what to do and like, boom, they're off to the races. Some of them, sure. But then a lot of them, they hadn't even themselves developed the skills or like mapped them mentally, the skills required to find success. Like they hadn't kind of like done that mental modeling in their head. And they definitely didn't know how to articulate it to agents. Like they figured out how to be successful, but they didn't understand like what's the path, how do I articulate that and share it with somebody else to help them develop their skills and find success. So a lot of my tips that I'm about to share with you guys, this is not some sexy, exciting piece of technology. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be telling you go get a bunch of software. But literally it seems so simplistic, but the last 2 years, the market has been very easy for a lot of us. You stick a sign in the yard and boom, you get like 10 listings. A buyer calls and that buyer knows they need to move fast because they're going to miss out on the listing if they don't. So it's a little bit more difficult now. And so again, all of my tips are about helping you get really focused and then how you can like slowly take some baby steps to create leverage for yourself. So my tip number one, if you're a solo agent, is focus 95% of your time on listings. And there's a way to do this without actually missing out on the buy side commissions and giving up 50% or more of the commissions to a buyer agent. So I'm sure most of you guys know, like if you hire a buyer's agent, you typically do like a 50-50 split. But let me do a quick survey here for everybody on here. Is everybody on here still like a practicing real estate agent? Is everybody on here still selling houses? Chime in on the chat box. Is there anybody on here not selling real estate anymore and they're just running a team?
Make sure you change your name to your name as well. Because if you're coming in as Adele, I don't know who's saying yes and no in the chat box. But it looks like everybody's still selling, Chris.
All right, so let me ask you guys a question. So if you guys personally, the people on this call, if you guys personally go on a listing appointment and that seller needs to turn around and buy another house, are you going to hand that off to a buyer's agent and give them, 50% of the commission? Be honest with me. Don't feed me a bunch of bullshit. Give me the honest truth.
Or more. Some of you do more.
Are you going to give that deal to the agent or are you going to go help them buy the house? Now, my follow-up question is, how many people would agree that that buy-side transaction is pretty damn easy? Like, they only need to go show like 4, 5, 6 houses and then write the contract. Would everybody agree with that? The buy-side's pretty easy? I'm seeing everybody chime in on this, so I think you all agree with me. All right, so you're probably wondering, Chris, where are you going with this? Well, the tips I want to share with you are about how to get your time back and how to do it without giving up a bunch of revenue so you can continue growing the business and investing in it and hiring people and, eventually, as Brad and I talked about in the book, the last stage, the great escape, here it is. By the way, if anybody's interested in this, Brad, you can probably put up a link if anybody wants to get a free copy of the book. Let's talk about how to buy your time back. So that's like step one. If you guys are trying to build a team, you have to figure out how to buy your time back without giving up all this commission. Let me back up for just a second. Before I get into the details of the buyer agent side, I want to talk about on the listing side, where I would recommend you guys go. I hate doing this. I feel like I'm going to give you guys a bunch of shiny objects and you're going to be like, and you're going to go, sign up for all this stuff. So I hate being a spokesperson for any one company. But for anybody on here, I'm going to share this with you because if there's anybody on here that's like, I don't know where to go to get listings, maybe you're only working your sphere right now and you're like, man, I need more listings. I'm going to share with you guys the top sources for us for listings. Homelight.com. Has anybody heard of Homelight? Man, I don't know if you guys know this, but Homelight.com is spending an insane amount of money for TV ads. Their budget last year was like, God, like $60 million on TV ads. We have a team in, oh, there it is. Maureen says we love Homelight. So believe it or not, I know you guys might be thinking, oh, TV's old school, you know, it's old school, but TV generates some of the highest quality leads. Like they literally kick the crap out of Zillow leads. I mean, they're like 10x better than Zillow, but they're really expensive. You know, it's really expensive to run TV ads. So the thing I would encourage everybody to take advantage of right now is Homelight is spending a redonkulous amount of money on TV. Brad and I, we have me, Brad, and Suze, we have a team in Dallas. And in Dallas, last week, we pulled this up. And can anybody take a guess at how much money they spent just in Dallas in the first 2 months of the year? I'm gonna give out a $25 gift card if somebody can guess this right. $25 gift card if you can guess how much they spent in one city. Granted, remember, there's like cities all over the damn United States, right? And they're spending in a lot of cities. How much money do you think they spent in the first 2 months? All right, you guys are getting a little crazy here. Come on. Y'all are crazy. $100 million. No, their whole campaign all over the United States was 60 million. So in just one market in Dallas, in the first 2 months of the year, they spent $1 million. So they were averaging $500,000 just on TV ads. Just on TV ads. 500,000 in one market. I don't know if you guys can comprehend that, but that's a lot of freaking money in one city on just TV. So anyways, Homelight.com, like right now, look, hey, in 2 years, Homelight.com may suck, but right now it's a great place to go get seller leads. The second place, and look, everything I'm telling you is stuff we're doing. So this is not like, I'm not just throwing a bunch of theoretical stuff out there. These are all things me, Brad, and Suze are actively doing every day. Vulcan 7. So this is probably our favorite system for expires and withdrawals. Expires are through the roof. Like there's freaking expires popping up like crazy. For anybody that knows my story, when I got started, 13, 14, 15 years ago, like when the market was crashing, this was like my bread and butter. That's how it all started for me. Next are Sphere events. So Sphere events, buyer and seller seminars. By the way, these are really cheap. Sharon said there's very few expires in Connecticut. One thing you should look at if there's not a lot of expires is for sale by owners. And by the way, there are some cities in the US where your market has not been impacted at all by rates going up 250%, which is mind-blowing that some of you guys are so damn lucky to be in markets where you weren't impacted and rates went up 250% in 6 months, the fastest they've ever gone up. So anyways, you guys are the exception to the rule. Email marketing. So, we use Viral Marketing. We're a paying customer of Viral. So we've been emailing our database, hitting it really hard with a call to action to generate buyer and seller leads. Viral has something called the magical seller email. Has anybody heard of this? The magical seller email? I don't know if you guys know Frank Klesitz at Viral Marketing. He's kind of crazy. He's one of the best copywriters and like marketers I've ever met, but he is kind of an oddball. Frank was on here. I'd tell him that to his face. And actually we hang out all the time. I tell him, Frank, you're an odd guy. But anyways, he has this email he sends out to his clients to send out every quarter. And he calls it his magical seller email. And so anyways, I know it sounds stupid, but that email generates at least 12, 13, 14, 15 listing appointments. So listing appointments. I'll say it again, 12, 13, 14, 15 listing appointments every quarter when we do it. You can't do it every week or every month. You got to do it. You can only do it every, quarterly. Another tool we've been using, I'm a big fan of this tool, but guys, like if you're a solo agent, I wouldn't go out and get this, but this is probably one of the, latest and greatest pieces of technology that's come out, and it's called Fellow. So Fellow basically said, hey, we want to empower agents to be iBuyers. We want to help agents have their own iBuyer solution. So Fellow is a tool that helps you compete directly with the iBuyers. And then, and again, this is another one we use. It's just, again, these are all lead data sources, alltheleads.com. So we get probate data from here. So we buy multiple counties. These are, properties where, somebody's inherited a home. And then the last one, it's funny, I saw some people mentioning this one, and it's ZBuyer. So ZBuyer is one we've been using for like a decade. ZBuyer is, they're running Google PPC, like Bing, Yahoo. They're running PPC campaigns for people that are typing in distressed seller type keywords, like I need to sell my home for cash, or how do I sell my home super fast? It's like a, myriad of different keyword strings. And for anybody that's ever built out a PPC campaign with these keyword strings, the cost per click is crazy high. Like the average, it depends on what market you're in, okay? And the more competitive markets, the cost per click in the more competitive markets with these distressed seller leads, like literally one click could be $50 to $75. And you need multiple clicks to generate a lead. And so we were finding, like, for example, in Austin, in Dallas, our cost per lead was anywhere from $300 to $500 per lead. But the kicker was, for every 7 leads we generated, we got 1 listing. And so our client acquisition cost was about $2,100. So something that's, again, something interesting going on right now is, we're seeing cracks in the economy. You're hearing about, people getting laid off, et cetera. And so there's going to be more and more opportunities to find distressed seller type listings. And a lot of people are, backing off their marketing. They're like taking their foot off the pedal on the marketing side because they're running out of money. They're not running their business efficiently. And so we're seeing those cost per clicks and cost per leads go way down. And so our return on investment with these marketing campaigns is improving significantly. So everything I put on this board here, this is what I call the low-hanging fruit. So these are either very inexpensive leads like expireds or withdrawals. HomeLight doesn't cost anything. There is a referral fee. Sphere events, that could cost some money, but you can get some partners to help pay for it. Buyer and seller seminars, you can use your database to run seminars. Email marketing, that, it's a couple $100 to do that. If you guys don't have a database of more than, I would say, like 1,000 people, like if you don't have at least 1,000 people in your database, I probably would not spend $500 or $600 for viral. Like I would just go get MailChimp and do it myself. Fellow, I probably wouldn't go and get Fellow if my database was not over 1,000 people. And alltheleads.com and ZBuyer, I think everybody should go and get those. They're super cheap leads. All right. Next, I want to talk about probably the greatest point of leverage. If you're a solo agent, something I mentioned a few minutes ago is on a buy-sell transaction, would you give that buy-side deal to one of your agents? And everybody said, hell no. I'm not giving that agent my buy-side deal. They only got to go show 4 or 5 houses. No way I'm going to give them some lay-down deal. So one of the big mistakes Brad and I found is, as people are growing their team, they're trying to buy their time back, and they give up those buy-side deals because they want their buyer agents to be successful, but it's not a very favorable commission split for the company. So one of the things that I encourage you to do is on buy-sell deals, your split with the buyer agent should be 70-30. Now, another option, which is even more efficient, is you pay your buyer agents, which are, you know, the new ones aren't making any money in the first couple months. You pay them to go pop locks. You pay them a fee to go pop a lock. This is very common in Redfin, by the way. You pay like $75 to go pop a lock. And then either you or your assistant, right, draft the contract, submit it, and deal with negotiations. So this is one way for you to keep a vast majority of the money on these deals that are low-hanging fruit, but also, you know, start letting your buyer agents dip in their toes in how to, you know, be good. I put some of our recommendations on splits. So sign calls, open houses, sphere. By the way, these are the top things your agent should be doing. One of the greatest mistakes, one of the biggest, this is literally the biggest mistake Brad and I have seen team owners make all over the United States, all over the US. Real estate teams or people aspiring to build out a real estate team, they go out and get this fancy software like Boomtown or Chime or Sierra. You know, there's tons of them. And they go and buy tons and tons of leads. And that's all they focus on are those internet leads that they're paying for. So first off, those internet leads that your agents are working, they take 6 months, 12 months, 18 months to close. You think your buyer's agents can wait that long to get a paycheck? Hell no, they can't wait that long. So you need to help them start making money faster. And this sounds, you know, hey, this is like old school stuff, but sign calls, open houses, work in your sphere. These are things you can do to generate deals in the first 90 days and start getting some momentum. And then something I mentioned earlier is if you are going to do PPC advertising, make sure you're going after the keyword strings that are bottom of funnel buyers. So what I mean by bottom of funnel is they're ready to buy a house in the next like 2-3 months, not 6 to 12 months. So the kicker is though, there's not a ton of these keyword strings. And then, but here's the huge competitive advantage. So the big competitive advantage is a lot of these companies like Boomtown and all the others, you know, they're trying to really focus on helping crush the cost per lead. Because like if they send you a report and it says like you're paying $30 or $40 per lead, most of their customers, most of the Boomtown or Sierra customers, if they got some report saying they're paying $30 or $40 a lead, they're going to call Boomtown or Sierra and be like, WTF, you guys suck. But the truth is like your cost per lead, right, doesn't actually have any bearing on how fast that deal can convert. And in fact, the more expensive leads are the ones that convert faster. So as you guys are probably well aware, like Zillow leads are very, very expensive. By the way, you do not see Zillow on this board. I don't have Zillow on here. I think Zillow Flex is great, the Flex deal. There's some other ones too. If you've heard of Ojo Labs, they generate leads through Movoto. So Ojo Labs bought Movoto and they're trying to grow and compete with Realtor.com and Zillow. So anyways, these Flex programs are great, referral-based deals. But buying leads and paying $250 to $300 for a buyer lead makes no sense. Now, it does make sense to pay 30 or 40 bucks compared to like 10 or 15. And those 10 or $15 leads, they take 6, 12, 18 months to close. So you can spend a little more, you know, go from 15 to 30 bucks. And then you can target these bottom of funnel buyer leads. And again, these are people that are looking to like figure out, can they get pre-approved? And like, you know, they're much more like further down the funnel. They're closer to buying. And again, I don't recommend giving out more than 30 of these per month per agent. All right, tip number 2, delegate training and coaching of your buyer agents to a sales manager. Is there anybody on here that has a sales manager? Do we have any teams on here that have like in the book, you know, we call it your first key hire, a buyer agent team lead, a BATL, your first key hire in building out a team. Do we have anybody on here with sales managers? Nope, not yet. Okay. So you guys have to decide, either you want to be a sales trainer and a sales manager, or you want to be the CEO or maybe the rainmaker, one of those three, but you got to decide which one do you want to do. And if you don't want to be training agents and you're going to recruit agents, you better go find somebody to do that job for you. Otherwise, you're going to spend money on leads and you're not going to get an ROI on the leads because the agents aren't going to know how to convert them. So again, the key thing here I've been talking about today, and I said is kind of like the main premise of my tips is like, we have to shift to being like hyper focused on improving our skills and our agents' skills. And I know, again, that doesn't sound super sexy like some piece of software, but you know, we are in a skills-based business. Like being a salesperson, that's a skill to develop. And so I'm gonna talk more about that in a minute. By the way, if you're wondering, like I always get this question, what should I pay a buyer agent team leader, sales manager? I have no idea. Like it's different in every city. Some cities are more expensive, some cities are less. So this is literally the step-by-step process we go through. We go and look for comps, just like you look for comps for a house. We go and look at like, what are competitors posting for sales manager roles? And then you can go on websites like salary.com, payscale.com, glassdoor.com, and you can type in the job description, sales manager, and it'll tell you what people are making, like what their base salary is, and then what their commission upside is. By the way, if anybody on here tries to like shortcut this and bring a sales manager in on some like 100% commission-based deal, you're probably getting a really crappy team leader or somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. One of those two. You have to offer a competitive wage. If you guys can't afford to hire a sales manager, I'll share with you in a minute another like little thing you can do to delegate it for a fraction of the cost. I'll tell you guys exactly what we did back when we were building the team. I'll share with you what we did. So anyways, once we figure out the compensation, you know, we want to make sure we post a competitive wage. So we're attracting high quality people. We post a job ad, we start interviewing. We take people through what's called a practical interview. You guys will love this. We make the person interviewing come in and do a call jam session. Like they literally have to call leads with the agents and give the agents feedback live. And then we also have them teach a class. And so you judge a team lead's abilities by how effective they are at influencing people and pushing them out of their comfort zone to get results. Anybody in here go to the gym? Do we have any gym goers in here? We got anybody who goes to the gym regularly? How many people work a little bit harder when they have some trainer sitting next to them, kicking them in the ass? I always do. So that's what a team lead should be doing. Like your sales team lead, your sales manager, like they should be in the trenches. And that's either you or the person you hired. They should be in the trenches, making those calls, giving them feedback live, pushing them to make more calls. So we figured that out in step 5. I'll recommend a book to you guys. Y'all should write this down. This is probably one of this book was like a game changer for me. I found it like 10 years ago, and it's called The Rare Find. And in this book, The Rare Find, they talked about Teach for America and what they did to turn that organization around. And it was a failing nonprofit that was bringing in kids from like Stanford and Harvard and Yale. And this nonprofit was failing miserably for 2 decades. And then this woman came in and like kicked ass and took names. And she didn't have some Ivy League degree. And they're like, WTF, what are you doing? So anyways, they talk about this in the book. And it really speaks to me when I think about trying to figure out how do we accelerate the process around making sure we hire the right person. Because it's expensive. Hiring a buyer agent team lead is expensive. And so when I hire somebody, I want to make sure they work. And so something you'll read in the book, The Rare Find, is they talk regularly about how it's important to put people in a position where they're actually like, you're going to watch them do something that they're going to do in the job and see how they actually perform in a real world setting versus asking a bunch of hypothetical questions. And then, we give them the offer, go through responsibilities, and then have a 90 days to success. And we have a sales team leader training manual. We're actually taking that to the next level. Miss Medrano and Bradley Pounds are working on putting that thing on steroids as we speak, actually. All right, so I mentioned this, like, hey, there may be a lot of people on here that can't afford a sales manager. And so if you can't, like, hey, guys, do me a favor, get on your computer right now. I'm just kind of curious. We have people on here all over the US. get on your computer, go to Google and type in sales manager salary. What comes up? How much is it? I just want y'all, I'm really curious what the range is. Go to Google and type it in. If you were going to hire somebody to help you build your sales team, how much are you going to have to pay them? You can go to salary.com, payscale.com, or you can just type it on Google. How much do you have to pay? Chime in on the chat box. Kenneth says $73,899, 92,000. Somebody said 109,000. Somebody said 60,000. Somebody said 93,000. Matthew says Google said $63,466. All right. Well, now you guys know why I never answer this question when people ask me what to pay. And by the way, don't be one of those people that go to a conference. Man, I see this all the time. People go to these conferences and they're like, hey, what do you pay your inside salesperson? Hey, what do you pay this person? I'm like, dude, it depends on the market you're in. If you could find a person in the Philippines, we all know you can, find talent in the Philippines for like $8 or $9 an hour. So it's really all about the market they live in, right? Cost of living and all those things. All right. So I think everybody's, look at the chat box, guys. Do y'all see these numbers? First off, they're pretty wide ranging. I'd say the general range is anywhere from 60,000 up to 150,000. That's the general range. Puesto said in Florida, 75,000. All right. So I think you guys get the gist. Like hiring a sales manager is not a cheap proposition, especially when you're growing a team. So if you guys can't afford a sales manager, or you don't want to, or maybe you don't even have any agents yet, or maybe you only have 1 or 2 or 3 of them, you don't want to pay this big salary for a person to manage 2 or 3 people. So at minimum, what you can do is you can hire a coach. So I'm going to share with you guys exactly what Brad and I did in just a minute. One more thing. So I feel like I'm putting the hard sale on a sales manager here, but you guys could be the sales manager. Okay. So like, I know I keep saying hire a sales manager, but like, if you love doing that, like you want that to be your job, like be the team leader, be the sales leader, like go do it. And then find a listing agent to replace you on the listing side. All right. Now, one of me, Brad, and Susanna's big ahas was our franchise partners. They were, solo agents, right? Most of them had never been a sales manager before. They'd never managed a sales manager. They'd never been a leader of leaders. They were in like all kinds of different industries and were never in sales management or sales leadership. So here's my tip number 4. Again, not some shiny object of some piece of software, but define the success metrics for yourself if you're going to be the sales leader, or for the person you hire, or the coach you bring on. And make sure that you clearly understand what are the activities that are going to drive the success of your agents. I want to take a quick poll for everybody on here. How many people on here grew their business through their sphere, through referrals? Like your personal business when you got started. Chime in on the chat box if that's how you grew your business. All right. So that's all I personally do at the minute. Yes, most of it. Yes, me. All right. So if you were to hire an agent and they come from a market, like maybe in a totally different state, what's that agent going to do? If they don't have a sphere, what are they going to do? Like, what's their schedule look like? How are you going to set that agent's calendar up? Like, how are you going to help them time block to go get business? So I know this may seem like super elementary, what I'm saying right here, but what Brad and I found is like a lot of the teams we worked with, they found success because they hustled, they had a big sphere, they like would just, they're just charismatic leaders. But the kicker is when you start building a team, the people you hire on your team are not going to be like you. Me and Brad call them utility players. And a utility player is someone that's going to post up at least 1 to 2 transactions a month. And so they're not going to fall ass backwards into a deal like you did because you're charismatic and you're a hard charger and you're driving. And you're just not going to do it. And so you're going to have to in a sense, baby them to help them define what their time blocks should be on their calendar and like what their daily activities have been. How many people have heard that saying that like your activities is what, your daily activities is what drives your habits, and your habits ultimately end up predicting your future and your success? Has anybody heard that before? Show of hands. So very simplistically, if you guys are going to be a sales manager or a sales team leader, or you're going to hire a coach, or you're going to, bring somebody in-house, like that's the key thing, is making sure their calendars are set up for success and then holding that agent accountable to the calendar. All right, so here are the key activities. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty for a minute. These are the key activities that should be happening every single day if you bring in an agent. One is role playing. So for example, when you meet a client face-to-face, what is that process you go through to get them to become a customer? I want you guys to write this down. I swear I'm going to get I don't know, I'm not going to swear, but I want to get I've said so many times, I want to like tattoo this on my arm, because I want to tell every agent this. So write this down. The road to riches in real estate, the road to riches is being able to convert a complete stranger into a client. The road to riches. So I'm not saying 100 grand a year, 150 grand a year. I'm saying when you like can get up to making 7 figures, right? 7 figures, not gross, net income, paying taxes on 7 figures. It's how effective are you at helping other people convert a complete stranger into a client. If you can figure out how to help other people do that, you will become super rich. And so how do you do that? Well, these are the key activities. And these are not sexy, but these are them. Role playing. Helping them feel confident when they get in front of a stranger to get them committed to working with them as a client. Second is objection handling. Third is call jams. Does anybody know what a call jam is? Anybody not know what a call jam is? Brad and I preach call jams because they're such game changers. So one of the things we discovered is like, first off, you guys probably know this, real estate agents hate making phone calls. They don't want to call leads. Like they're scared of them. I don't know why. They're scared of calling leads. And so call jams is when you like literally go on your calendar and you invite 1, 2, at most 3 people to come in the office. And when they come in the office, they're not allowed to log into their CRM. And you give each agent a list of 25 leads to call. And they don't know shit about those people. It's a first name, last name, phone number. That's it. They don't know shit. And they pick up the phone and they start calling. And during these call jams is when you start figuring out, what do I need to do to help this agent improve their phone skills? For example, are they talking themselves out of the appointment? Like, are they trying to prove that they're like an expert on the phone versus just booking the damn appointment and getting face-to-face? Or do they get like thrown an objection and they just like shut down and stop talking? As you guys know, the best people at booking appointments are the ones that are very consultative and inquisitive and just ask a lot of questions. And then when you get thrown an objection, the answer to the objection is the appointment. For example, the buyer says on the phone, hey, what are you guys charging commissions? Hey, great question. We have a flexible commission menu. I'd love to share it with you. Do mornings or afternoons work better for us to meet and discuss? So the answer to every objection is the appointment. The next key thing is you've got to have a monthly assessment of the agent's results. So I want you guys to write this down. I didn't put this on the PowerPoint slide, but there's like very key metrics you guys need to be tracking for your agents. And each metric tells a different story. So the first effort is, how many calls did the agent make? The story that tells me is the agent committed? Are they applying enough effort to even be successful? Like, if you can't knock that domino down, go find another job. This is not for you. So first one is effort, which is a function of the number of calls they make. The second metric is the number of calls they make and how many of those convert into appointments. So their appointment conversion rate tells you the story. How good are they on the phone? And then the third key metric you have to watch, and this is something you need to be doing when you meet with them once a month, is what's the appointment win ratio? So they go on the appointment, how many people actually sign a representation agreement? And so that tells you how good are they at outside sales or meeting people face to face, building rapport, establishing themselves as an expert, differentiating themselves from the other 10,000 realtors, and then asking to earn their business. And then the last key activity is, and this is more so for you guys individually, you've got to be brutally honest with yourself about who will succeed and fail. I want to bring Susanna, are you there?
Yes, I am.
So Susanna coined this thing called the 3 C's. And I'm going to share with you guys in a minute just how successful this is when I talk about Susanna more in a minute. But Susanna, why don't you tell people what the 3 C's are when you're trying to figure out if you have the right person on the team?
Well, the first key metric is a cultural fit, meaning, do we like that person? Can we work beside that person? Do we want to share leads with that person? Does that person like us? So you're looking for a cultural fit. The second domino is something that it's interesting how this transpires. It's the the coachable fit, meaning you're going to give them some ideas on how to combat objections and things. Are they actually taking what you're saying and actually doing something with the skills that you're attempting to try to provide to them? I mean, you can take a brand new agent. Is the brand new agent just going to ignore you, or is the older senior agent going to still do it their old way and not give a shit of what you're saying, right? So you're looking for that piece that's coachability. The third piece, and this one's critical, is the committed piece. Are they actually showing up every day and giving it hell? And if you have the 3 yeses on those, right? Culture fit, the coachable fit, and the committed fit, you typically will have a keeper that will stay with you beyond 90 days, sometimes up to 2 years, depending on there's another coin of that. You got to start doing things to help retain them, right? And if you are missing a piece, you don't have a keeper. That is someone that at some point you have to be able to coach out. You just have to.
I want to add like one more layer. Me and Susanna, we read a lot of books. Susanna reads 10 times the number of books I read. But there's this book I read, it got recommended to me, called Culture Code. Has anybody read Culture Code? Show of hands. So here, I'll pose a question, you guys, and I want you to chime into the chat box. How many people would agree that your mindset ultimately drives your success in sales? How many people would agree your mindset drives your success? Like when you pick up that phone and start making calls, or when you go meet a complete stranger that you've never met before, how many people would agree your mindset is what drives your success? So we hear this word culture a lot, and it was like, man, I had such a hard time grasping this idea of culture. Like, I just wanted to hire people that would go kick ass, sell a bunch of houses. Like, I don't care about all that feeling shit. Like, just go sell a bunch of fucking houses. Sorry, excuse my French. Just go sell a bunch of houses. And so the thing that I realized, though, is like when you start building a team, I don't know how, maybe show of hands or chime in on the chat box if you've encountered this. Have you ever like brought somebody in and you start training them and like they like start questioning and critiquing everything you tell them? And then they're like this contrarian in the room if you're doing training. And you're like, WTF, dude, you haven't even sold 10 houses in your career. Why are you second guessing what I'm telling you? So something Culture Code talks about is how if you want to build this like engine of salespeople that are going to kick ass and take names, you got to make sure all the people on your team feel a certain way about one another. So our job as leaders is to try to drive this mindset where people feel like, man, I can't wait to get to the office, be next to my peers, and start doing deals. Like you don't like, I don't know. I don't know if you guys have heard about this. Like there's some teams, they're like, they got a mandatory team meeting at 9:01 and you're forced to do this and you're forced to do that, and so I'm not saying you don't do team meetings and stuff, but like you can't force everything. You want people to want to be there. And so for us as team leaders and business owners, we have like such a tiny amount of control to be able to affect this. The only thing we can do as leaders to have an effect on culture is making sure we hire people that we like. And then once they actually come on the team, and this is something to talk about in Culture Code, is like watch them at a distance and see how that person interacts with other people. Like, are they giving people compliments? Are they holding the door for one another? Are they offering to help? Or do they just like sit back with their arms crossed? They don't connect with anybody. They're just like kind of their own silo. So you're as a team lead, you have the ability to make sure you bring the right people in. And then in those first 30 days, you've got to pluck those weeds, the weeds in your pretty little garden you're trying to grow. You got to pluck those weeds and pull them out. So the first C is culture. And as Susanna said, second is coachability, and third is commitment. I know this, you guys may think this is like elementary stuff, but there's so much misinformation. Like me, Brad, and Suze, we hear all these people at the conferences and they're like, if my agent doesn't get a deal in the first 60 days, I'm cutting them. Or if my agent doesn't get to 2 deals by month 6, I'm cutting them. But it's not in the first 90 days. It's not about any of those things. It's just about making sure you have the right person. Number 2, you got somebody coachable. And number 3, you got somebody committed. Those are the very simplistic things in the very beginning. All right. Some other little ahas I'm going to share with you guys as me and Brad were helping like solo agents. Again, the context is we've been helping a lot of solo agents build these mega teams, and some of them had like 1 or 2 people. But a lot of the people we've met with, they didn't ever have any like sales leadership training. They had never been a sales leader themselves. They had never been a sales manager. They were a great agent, but they never led like 10 salespeople and led those 10 salespeople to have a tremendous amount of success. And so you might be wondering, well, as a sales leader, how do I make sure I can drive that success? Well, the answer to that, it lies in this question. What is the trajectory map for an agent? And what I'm referencing is the skills. What are the skills an agent has to learn to find success? Like, what's that ladder look like from a skills perspective? And then how do you go about, as the team leader, sales manager, how do you go about making sure that their time blocks in their schedule are speaking to those dominoes that they have to knock down from a skills perspective? And how and what do I delegate training wise to benefit my agents? So here's the other thing. You guys are probably like, Chris, I'm doing 40 deals right now by myself. How the hell am I going to find time to do all this shit? You just like filled my calendar up like with 40 hours worth of work. How many people are thinking that right now? So what's really cool actually is we found that you can leverage a lot of different people to help your agents learn. So for example, if we create a training calendar at the beginning of every month, and our sales manager, our BATL, is not the one leading every training. And so we delegate a lot of the training, and it's a lot of these things are specific to market expertise. So for example, 1 day a week, we have contracts training, and we bring somebody in for the contracts training. You can sometimes use title companies or your board of realtors. They have trainers. They're free resources. The classes are free. They'll come to your office. You can go to the board of realtors and they'll do classes for you. CMA training. I know CMA training, that sounds rudimentary, but if you're a newer agent, less than 2 years in, you may not have what it takes to understand how to use the MLS. Also bringing in title companies, home inspectors. You can leverage a lot of these outside vendors to help you from an education perspective so it doesn't dominate your schedule. So here's the agent skills trajectory map. These are the 3 dominoes that you guys have to help the agents master. So if you've never been a sales manager of agents before, these are the things you have to be conscious of from a macro perspective. These are the things that you have to help the agents knock down. So first is inside sales, 2 is outside sales, and 3 is market expertise. So inside sales is about the phones, booking appointments, managing your pipeline. outside sales, meeting people face to face that are complete strangers and making them clients. 3, getting deals under contract and to the closing table. That requires market expertise. All right, so if you guys want to delegate this role to somebody else, maybe you want to hire a coach to do this, or you want to, because you don't want to do it, there's a couple little check boxes I recommend. Make sure you hire someone who's already been in the role. The greatest predictor of success is finding somebody that's already done the job. Number 2, hire someone who's already found success, like not somebody that like failed and is coming in to, give it another shot. Number 3, hire somebody that's really passionate about agent success. Number 4, hire someone that's going to do a monthly assessment with you on how the team is progressing. I talked about those key conversion metrics that tell a story about the agent's skills. So you got to have an assessment with this person you hire or a coach, whoever you bring in. And then last, hire someone who will tell you who to hire, retain, or fire. Some of the best salespeople are the worst sales managers. And it's because if you're a great salesperson, I'm willing to bet you put a lot of people in the friend zone. How many people put employees in the friend zone and agents in the friend zone, and then you feel bad about firing them, and then you make excuses for their lack of performance? All right, so if anybody, I want to just touch real quickly on what we did back in the day before we had before we had a lot of money and before our team was small, before our team grew. So this was like 10 years ago. We started out delegating it. I couldn't afford to pay a sales team leader 60,000 base plus commissions, because in Austin they'd make 120 grand. So we started out with a coach. We used Dirk Zeller with Real Estate Champions. We were paying Dirk $5 grand a month, and he coached our team of buyer agents. And so all the things I talked about, it's what he did. It's expensive. It's still like half the price of hiring a sales manager, because sales manager is probably going to be a 6-figure job with like bonuses. So anyways, we brought in Dirk Zeller. Susanna, who's on this call, she was one of his students. This was almost 9 years ago. And then as our team grew and we had more money, we brought the role in-house. And you guys might be wondering, who did we bring in-house to fill the roles, to fill this role that Dirk Zeller was serving? I'm going to tell you in just a minute. I want to talk briefly on the profile of the ideal buyer agent team lead. They have a high I personality. They love connecting with other people. They want to help other people succeed. They're structured, so they're able to do the same thing over and over with consistency, and they won't get bored. I bet we have a lot of people on here that get bored easily. And it's probably because you guys have no S in your personality. And they do need some D. They need to have a driver component. And then they also need to have a high economic score. So if you give them a values assessment, you want to make sure they have a high economic score. So I'm going to introduce you guys to Susanna Medrano. This is a little bit about Susanna. Susanna came to us from the nonprofit world. She had never been in sales before. She worked for the American Cancer Society doing nonprofit work because she's just got a heart of gold, and she cares more about other people than she does herself. In her first year with us, between 2014 and 2015, she sold 45 homes. The second year, she started taking on listings and buyers. So those 45 deals she did in year 1 was as a buyer's agent. In year 2, she started doing listings and buyers. I had to go hire an assistant just for Susanna, a gal named Jody Rodden, who is still with us to this day, to help Susanna keep up because she was doing so many deals. And then in 2016, Brad and I went to Susanna and were like, Susanna, would you be willing to lead our buyer's agents? And so at that time, our buyer team in Austin was doing about 120 transactions. Susanna got our buyer team in Austin up to 243 transactions annually. And then when Brad and I really, things really started taking off on the franchising side, we were probably helping like one new team every month grow their business. Or, again, these aren't, a lot of the people we were bringing in were like doing between 25 and 100 sales. So they weren't like big teams when they came to us. But anyways, the only reason Brad and I were able to do this was because of Susanna. But in 2017, we promoted her to director of sales. She led the Austin team. And so when Brad and I kind of like fleed the ship or whatever, the team was doing 531 deals, and Brad and I had gotten kind of stuck. We couldn't get it over 530 deals. And Susanna, between 2017 and 2021, got it up to 907 deals. So she literally kicked my ass and Brad's ass and got the team to do more than we could. And then 2 years ago, we asked Susanna to step into a national sales and leadership trainer role. She's now officially the highest paid person in our whole company. She deserves every freaking penny of it, by the way. And so she helps all of our franchise partners help identify their buyer agent team leaders, helps get the buyer agent team leaders to know what they need to be doing to have success. And then she actually helps train the buyer agents too through national call jams. We do national call jams every week. So there may be a lot of people on here asking if they could leverage Susanna. I've had a lot of people ask me over the years to leverage Susanna when they've come to our office. So I convinced Susanna to help some agents and team and people outside of our company. And so if there's anybody that's interested in having Susanna help your team and help you train buyer agents, I'm going to let a few people, not everybody, we got a lot of people on this Zoom session. I'm going to let a few people borrow her. I already know this question was going to come up, which is why I brought this up. I'll let a few people borrow Susanna, not for a long period of time. And if you steal her, I'll probably come kill you. But I'll let you guys borrow Suze. And Suze, why don't you chime in a little bit and share with folks what you can do to maybe help them, move some rocks and find success.
Sorry, Chris, you kind of cut out just a second. So essentially, Mr. Waters, this is the first time ever that you have ever allowed us to open up the engine of the car and not only like open up the car, but allow us to share some of our secrets. And I'm just completely honored and excited that you've entrusted me with this type of opportunity and helping scale agents. And I mean, what questions do you have, Chris? I'm prepared to answer anything you have.
Well, I think for anybody that's, interested in delegating the training and team leading component to Suze, you guys should probably just reach out to us over the phone. I'm not going to do some big sales pitch. Susanna does not have time to take on 20, 30 people. She's already helping 18 different teams across the US, and she's like flying out to those teams. I mean, she's like in the trenches. So Susanna's,
Well, I can give you a little bit of a tease. I mean, you talked in terms of my first year and then just the trajectory. I know what that trajectory takes. I've been able to help agents go from that trajectory and also become current leaders in our partnered franchise offices. What I've been able to create, because you guys have allowed me some time to do this, is something that I'm called Going from Nothing to Something. And it's essentially a 4-month course and taking agents through a period of not just mindset shit, right? No, this is getting to know yourself. Like, who are you as a realtor? Arming you with some fundamentals, arming you with good practices so that you can implement and close deals. Like, I'm super excited. I've already tested this across the country with several of our teams in our network. And I'm just excited that we have the opportunity to possibly share this with others outside of our network.
Cool. Hey, something I had a feeling some people were going to ask me this about the keyword stuff. I kept talking about bottom of funnel, PPC advertising. I'll be brutally honest. I'm not going to share this with everybody. Like, I'm not going to send this to everybody on the Zoom session. We spent, I don't even know how many hundreds of thousands to figure this out. And I really don't want to create my own competition. So for anybody that does work with Suze in a coaching capacity, I'll share it with you, but I ain't giving it to anybody else. Nothing personal. I share a ton of stuff. Like, I give away a lot of stuff. This is one of those little unique things that costs a lot of money to figure out. So here are the big rocks that Suze will work with you guys on. We talked about weekly call jams. She'll run those via Zoom. Talked about outside sales, role playing, the buyer presentation, understanding the process to convert a stranger into a client, the training calendar. She'll help you build a calendar so you know what your agents need to be doing. So you're helping them understand, the market expertise component. Remember, there's 3 dominoes I talked about earlier. Let me go back here. It's 3 dominoes if you're going to set your agents up for success, and these are skills. These 3 dominoes are skills that your agents have to learn. Number 1, inside sales. Number 2, outside sales. And number 3, market expertise. Market expertise means like knowing how to run comps, like knowing things about neighborhoods, schools. There's like random nuances about certain parts of the town. Like, I don't know, maybe there's some weird ordinance in the city. I don't know. There's all kinds of little weird nuances from one suburb to the next. So anyway, she's going to help you make sure you get those 3 dominoes in place. For anybody that is interested in working with Suze, obviously you got to pay something. But one cool thing is if she doesn't get you results, you guys don't have to pay anything. We'll just give you your money back. And it's $500 a month per agent if you want Suze to work with anybody on your team. And it could be a buyer agent team lead. If you want her to help you train that person up, that's a possibility. And this has a refund policy. Go 90 days and you're like, hey, Suze, my agent's not selling anything. I need my money back. We'll give you your money back. So as most of you guys know, the coaching is not our business, but we do try to generate a lot of value, and we love building a network of fellow team leaders. For those of you that have not joined the Rainmakers Alliance group on Facebook, it's a great place to exchange referrals. And everybody in that group are only people that are building teams and people that are selling a lot of houses and kicking ass and taking names. So you don't have to worry about sending some referral to a bum. So again, if anybody's interested in this, Brad, who do they call? Brad, are you there? Are they gonna?
I am here. Yeah. So
Okay.
this isn't something that we can just send you to a page and let you check out, because we got to tailor a solution. We've got some special group pricing. If you have several folks involved, we can do something around that. We're going to book a call instead. You're going to talk to Adele. Adele's going to coordinate. If we need to bring Suze on to that, we can. But we want to make sure that it's a match for you and a match for us. So Adele has posted in the chat message, in the chat feature rather, or is posting now a link to book that call. And actually that appears on your screen as well. So we're going to let you go ahead and get in line. The Calendly, it's basically just a Calendly link, and you'll book directly onto Adele's calendar. I would go ahead and knock that out before it fills up, since she's already got a lot of stuff on her calendar to begin with. So Adele, if you would post that again in the chat message so that everybody can copy that. I think you also will follow up via email with everybody who registered with that link. So don't worry if you didn't grab that. There we go. Everybody check the chat feature right now.
That's
Yeah,
right. I'll
good.
be following up with everyone.
Yeah, so if you want to know more about what this is all about, then just book a call with Adele. She can kind of get your questions answered and walk you through some of the finer points. Some of the things that we also wanted to kind of throw in there, Susan and I, is this is not a permanent solution. Remember that if you're really going to scale this team, what do you want to do? Just like going back to Chris's tip 2 and 3, you're going to groom a sales manager, right? But how do you pick that person? Well, we've been there, done that, and so Susan and I will actually stick our necks out there and put ourselves on the hook for doing a final interview with someone. So if you want to, coach with Suze and then concurrently begin the search for that individual, we'll help you determine whether you have the right folks or not. And then Susanna, while we were on the call, Suze said, hey, I want to throw something else in. And that is that Suze has a library of webinars that she's taught over the last 4 years. That she's actually going to throw access to that library of sales webinars. What's in there, Suze? A lot of conversion, a lot of objection handling, that sort of practical, tactical stuff that you guys would
Absolutely. It
wanna
has
share.
handouts. It has already the slide decks associated with it. What's mine is yours. It's all about playing it forward for me.
Cool. We're right there at time. We can take a question or two while we're here. I know we had some questions that stacked up in the chat box. Who's first got questions about Susanna or working with Susanna, kind of the scope of the program, et cetera? And then maybe we can do some generalized Q&A after that. I've lost my chat box, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think
Go
Brad,
ahead.
you brought up a good point. I think for anybody on here, you should know this isn't like you know, just like I told you guys, we hired Dirk Zeller. It was expensive. It was $5,000 a month. Some of you guys may, have smaller teams.
Mhm.
It doesn't make sense to pay that much. Dirk, this is all he does. It's his full-time business. We're not going to be coaching you guys for 12 months, 24 months, 36 months. Just consider this like a temporary solution to help you level up your business. And as Susanna said, we hope it's one of those like paying it forward deals, and we get to do a lot of really cool things in the future. So Brad and I, it's funny, we had this thing called the CEO Masterclass, and I went to the Super Bowl recently, and the guys that I went to Super Bowl with, his wife, we met. He was one of the students on the CEO Masterclass. And we've been able to do a lot of really cool things like real estate deals and investment and things of that nature. And so for anybody that has doubts or you think there's some ulterior motive to this, I guess if there is technically an ulterior motive, I mean, yeah, I hope we can pay it forward. And then there's like some cool stuff we can do in the future, whether that's exchanging referrals or deals or whatever. Brad and Susanna and I, we've really built some really deep connections with the people we work with. So, we don't have thousands of people coming through this. Like we only work with a handful of people. It's just, we want to work with other people like us and build a tribe, and we're all, working together to build our businesses and find synergies way beyond just helping each other, level up. So you guys, yeah, I put I think you guys can see my screen. This is the landing page. We had our graphics designer build this just so you guys can go on there and register. And you can read a little bit about, what all Susanna's doing. She's ruthless, by the way. Like she's going to tell you who to fire. And you may not like it, but she's going to be honest with you. She's going to tell you the truth. And she might actually tell you to keep somebody that you think is not going to make it. And they become this dark horse. Susanna always had this thing in her office where she called somebody the dark horse. So anyways,
They always prevailed, Chris. They always prevailed.
if you're interested, go on the landing page, put in your info, put in your email address, book a call. And, if you have I don't know, if you have a bigger team, it'll be less than $500 an agent. If you have, I don't know, 10 people, it'll probably be a lot less on a per agent basis. But, if you have 2 or 3 agents, it's going to be about $500. But if you have more, it'll be less. So anyways, just book a call. All of the reasons we do all this go way beyond just, the coaching aspect. We hope it's the beginning of a relationship with everybody that we connect with on here. And then in the future, there's, other cool opportunities that present itself. Maybe I'm going to be going to the Super Bowl with one of you guys next year. I don't know. So anyways, thank you. I appreciate everybody joining. This is recorded. We'll send out a recording of this, and be sure to put in your information. Adele, she's going to figure out the logistics if you want to get Susanna to help you. I don't know about you guys, but I've spent a lot of money in coaching, and $500 is pretty cheap. So, I think it's a pretty good deal. And I think it'll be a great way to begin a relationship with you guys that goes way beyond building teams. And, who knows what the future holds as we get to know each other. We'll probably, for anybody that works with Suze, we'll probably end up inviting you to come down to Austin and spend the day with us. And I think I see Aisha, actually, she went to the CEO Masterclass. Her and her husband came down to Austin. Yep. Aisha's husband has a super kick-ass home building business. And Aisha is on the brokerage side. Is that still the case, Aisha?
Yes, I'm still on the brokerage side.
Cool. All right, guys, everybody have a great week. Thanks so much for jumping on. We'll send out the recording and Adele will get in touch with you. It's been
Thank
great to
you.
reconnect with everybody. We're going to try to like reignite the engine, if you will. We've got some other additional like training related things we're going to do that are free. Just, for example, the listing presentation stuff I was mentioning earlier, some of the tweaks we've made to our listing presentation. Kind of dive a little bit deeper into some marketing and lead generation things on the listing side. We'll probably do a training on that just to share some of our results and things we've been doing on the listing side. So stay tuned, look for our emails, and be sure to join the Facebook Rainmakers Alliance group. A lot of great referral exchanges going on in there. Everybody that's in there is, either building a team or they already have a super kick-ass team. So there's no slackers in there. It's not a public group, so you have to, submit your information to join. It's not an open group. So hope everybody has a great week, and we'll look forward to talking with you guys soon. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Liz. Good to
Bye,
see
y'all.
all y'all's faces too.
You too.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.